Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey everyone, I'm one of the directors here at Colorado Mountain Camp. I serve over at the Mount Evans location.
And I'm Heather. I'm the other camp director, and I serve at the Windy Peak location.
Awesome. And so thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. And if you're watching this recording from home, thanks for taking the time to watch this. But special thanks to everyone who's taking the time to join us right now. So this will be, an info, just run through really of how camp is going to look in 2018. So we're going to talk a little bit, really about the program and details going into it. If you, just before we get started, I just want to double check if you guys can see us and hear us before we start talking, because as much as I love talking to myself, I would love for you guys to hear it. So if someone could just type into the chat box that you can hear and see us and that it's good to go, we'll get started right after that.
Right, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. You win. So just a note that we're going through a lot of information today. So if you ever have further questions about things, there'll be a question and answer at the end. If you have a question that comes up to mind, just type it right there into the chat box too, and we'll be able to address those either in real time or we'll address it and just say that we'll get to it at the end, just so that people know. So let's get started. So this is a view of Castle Rock right there on the right. This is a view from Windy Peak, which is the location that serves our 7th graders on up. And kind of just that quote just makes a lot of sense to us here at camp, of just making sure, that getting out in the outdoors and empowering kids with outdoor lifestyles is why we're here. We think overnight camp does it better than anything we do. So really, we come down to 3 main tenets, of how we're unique. The first one is positive risk taking, which, the activities that we do, rock climbing, mountain biking, we don't wrap our kids in bubble wrap. There is a risk involved in those activities, but we believe in positive risk taking, making sure that we are taking all of the safety precautions we can towards those activities, and making sure that we're there encouraging and celebrating success throughout that. Again, safety-minded focus to everything we do, whether it's out on the trails or right in camp, always viewing safety as the number one priority to all of our activities. And then really our incredible staff. We can have awesome facilities, we can have fantastic, super awesome organized directors, but our incredible staff really are what make the experience for our campers and for you.
And so more about our staff. One thing that we love at Avid is our staff, compared to other camps, is a lot older. So our average age of staff at our overnight camp, which you might hear is called CMC, which stands for Colorado Mountain Camp, was 24 this past year. So again, if you compare that to a lot of other camps where they're getting 18, 19-year-olds, we love that our staff are older. We believe that with that comes better judgment, more life experience, that they can offer your campers a lot more. On top of that, all of our staff go through multiple background checks. They get checked by the state that they live in and by the National Sex Offender Registry, just to make sure that, again, your kids are safe. That's our top priority. On top of all of that, our staff then have additional certifications that they are required to have. One is a medical training called Wilderness First Aid. Some of them go beyond that and have first responders or even EMT licenses. With that, all of the staff get CPR trained. And then all of our staff also during training go through a defensive van driver training that we have a great partnership with a company out here that's what they do for a living. So again, top notch, knowing that one of the potentially riskier things that we do with kids is drive them. We can mitigate so many things with rock climbing, this or that, but we can't, decide what other people are going to do on the road. And so we take all the precautions we can for that. Other examples of certifications they have is small craft safety for paddling, as well as all of our staff go through Leave No Trace curriculum, which we'll talk about more here in a little bit. So that staff training, again, it's not a short deal. So our staff come for almost 2 full weeks before they even get to hang out with kiddos, where they spend time going through things from like homesickness to what do we do when kids maybe act differently than we want, right? Which of course never happens. You parents know that. Never. So things like that we go through are love and logic. How do we create a very inclusive culture for staff, for campers? How do we teach biking to a 5-year-old, but also teach it to a 15-year-old? So how do you do skill progressions? What do we need to know to take kids out on expedition, which we'll talk to you more about. We love our expedition program at CMC. So you can see on the screen some of more of the topics that we talk about. But again, it's a 10-day class or a training which is more than what most camps do. So again, we want to go above and beyond, making sure that our staff have every resource they need to be absolutely successful with their kids. Awesome, and we love this. This was just announced last week. So there's a magazine, Outside Magazine, that every year releases a list of the top places to work. And they have a ton of different criteria that they judge on. And we've been in the magazine the past couple of years over it. But this year, as of Friday, they just announced that we got ranked as number 3 in the top 10 list. And we're pretty excited and proud about that. So all of that goes into, because we are listed in this, we get some of the best applicants because they want to work for a company like that. And so we get the cream of the crop that want to come and be with your kids. And so that goes a huge way as we develop partnerships with other organizations to work with staff that we pull into schools that we work with, everything like that. So again, super big accomplishment for us. It's been a dream of our team for years. And now we're going for spot number 1.
Yeah, and we've been doing interviews with some of the staff, and they're incredible. A lot of returners coming back, which is awesome. A lot of great talent coming through. So, kind of set up for our program, this is kind of a breakdown of all the programs we offer. And we're going to come across these as we kind of go through each of the programs in a little bit more detail. But it kind of shows you the progression. Of first grade, we're building comfort, then moving into independence and comfortability, just being at camp and in the skills that we do. And in 4th and 6th grade on down is where we really start 2-week programs, where we're working on teamwork and communication, working on conflict resolution and decision making, then working on interpersonal relationships and interpersonal communication. And then really get into our leadership development program, where we're working on the foundations of leadership, and hopefully, if they enjoy camp that much, prepping them to be staff members themselves to coach these very principles to the next generation of campers. So on and so forth does the wonderful wheel of CMC keep turning. But across all of them, the main goal is the medium of our program, from rock climbing and mountain biking, whitewater rafting, zip lining, and everything else we do. All of them are just a medium to accomplishing lifelong friendships. If kids come away with great skills, that's awesome. But we want all of our kids to come away with lifelong friendships. And I know I've made them at camp. I know Heather's made them at camp. It's something we want your kids to make at camp, and maybe you even made at camp when you were at camp. So I just said camp a lot, so I'm going to tell you all about the programs we have.
Well, and on that, so I got to talk to a parent this fall. Her son attended at Windy Peak this summer, and she was just saying how her one goal for her son was just to make lifelong friends, and that was the phrase that she picked. And she went on to tell me about how their group has met up multiple times since camp has ended. And she's like, I didn't care about mountain biking, I didn't care about climbing, just wanted him to make true friendship as a middle school boy. And she's like, and I feel like he did from camp. That was the whole takeaway. And so it was really cool to hear from the parent perspective of, this is our goal, and she felt like that was accomplished. So it was really awesome.
Woo! Can't ask for anything better than that.
And for Jeff, we are recording this, so you guys will all get a link of this. As well as we had about 95 people registered for this webinar, and so we'll make sure everyone gets that link so that you can share it with spouses, with neighbors, people that you want to attend with your kiddos. We'd love for you to share with anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So just an example of some of the activities that we do. Yeah, awesome. Glad you enjoyed that. So we empower all the campers. These are just some of the activities that we do, and there are unique activities to each program that we'll share when we go through them individually. But rock climbing, mountain biking, canoeing, kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding, or supping, if you want to be in the loop, hiking, camping expeditions, challenge course, team building, survival skills, leave no trace, navigation and geocaching, which is an awesome program. We have all our kids doing slack lines. Polar plunge, if you're not sure what that is, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's jumping into the water early in the morning, and yes, so many kids do it every single morning. It's incredible. I love it. It's one of my favorite things. We have archery and slingshot ranges. We do arts and crafts, both formal arts and crafts and also nature crafts as well. So we get kids outside making little fairy houses and things like that. They're pretty awesome. We have unique evening programs, from Viking night to rec night to Harry Potter night. All of these things kind of happen. And then we have morning and evening clubs, which are totally optional for the kids who are early birds and night owls, being able to get even more activities in. So it keeps going. Here are the 2 locations that we have. So we have Mount Evans, which is in Evergreen, Colorado, and that serves our younger campers. So that's mini camp, 2nd through 4th, 4th through 6th, as well as our expedition programs for 5th and 6th grade. It's all based out of the Mount Evans location, in addition to our staff and training program for our 11th and 12th graders. So if any of you are looking at that program for your kids, that program is based out of Mount Evans to really start the evolution process of those staff in training working with our younger kids, because you can imagine being a staff in training working with kids who are a year younger than you, it's a little hard. When they're a few years younger, then we can really use that sort of opportunity to advance there. And then the other location is Windy Peak, right in Bailey, Colorado. Our original location serves 7th and 8th grade program, as well as the expedition programs for that age group, as well as the leader in training program in 9th and 10th grade, which really starts to start that leadership development process. But let me tell you all about Mount Evans, which is where I'll be this coming summer, every single day of the season. And we start with mini camp, which is a 4-day session, really just an intro to overnight camp. It's designed for campers and for you. We're nervous about the first time away from camp. It's only 3 nights away. They get to do all the same activities that all the other kids get to do, from rock climbing, mountain biking, paddle sports, and more, and getting out on the course and making sure they're enjoying themselves. It's actually, we found that a lot of mini campers don't get homesick. It was a surprise to me that a lot of our kids, you think every single one of our mini campers are come to camp and get homesick. It's actually not the case. It's actually, when you build that comfort in from a very young age, it furthers itself and really helps out, especially when everyone's as a team together. So if that's on your mind, I absolutely can tell you about examples and connect you with parents afterwards who've done mini camp program. But without further ado, let's talk about 2nd through 4th grade. So this is when you're finally coming for 1 week of independence and action. Finally, they're going off to camp for a full week. It's a great accomplishment for kids in this age group. And they get to do the full program. This is no holds barred. The full program of what we offer is packed throughout the week. I just created the schedule myself and being able to kind of further that. So it's really about building that comfort, really building comfort, not only being away from home, but also being able to try all the skills that we have as well. So these kids are going to be horseback riding out in Arvada. They're going to be doing our low ropes course. And they also do a 1-night expedition right on site. So being that we have 540 acres, plenty of space to be able to enjoy. But so then we go and I see your question about 1st grade. I'll get to that right after I talk about 4th through 6th grade. Okay, sounds good? Awesome. So 4th through 6th grade, this is our first 2-week activity that we have. So as soon as you get to 4th grade, that means you're spending 2 weeks on camp. And this really creates the immersive experience that a lot of camps across the country are built on. We just kind of tend to blow it out because we have a 3-day expedition that's part of the program. These kids are also doing a camp betterment project. They're doing off-site canoeing at Bear Creek Lake Park, so they have more space of being able to canoe and practice their strokes. They're going to do fly fishing in the evenings at least once. They get to go zip lining. They get to do their 3-day expedition, as I mentioned, as well as they start to learn leave no trace principles, which means of how they can be able to operate in the backcountry while minimizing impact, which is really important, important lessons to carry with you as you're starting out, which builds good practices as you move forward and grow up. So I'll get to your question about mini camp just really quick. Is 1st grade the maximum age for mini camp? Yeah, so it's for rising 1st graders. So I would say if you're thinking about that 4-day, if you're rising into 2nd grade, that means I would then try that 1-week program. It's only a few days later. It also has a lot more activities of being able to do. So happy to talk with you more about the difference between the 2 programs to find the right fit. And yeah, so that would be the maximum age. If that answers your question, or if you have a follow-up, just put it right there. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep on rolling down through Mount Evans. So we now get into our expedition program. And then expeditions, we started with the expedition backpacking program last year. It was the first program of ours to fill out, and it filled quick. And we are now running it. We're doubling the size of the program for this coming year, where it's a 1-week intensive in backpacking. And then we'll be doing a 4-day, 3-night expedition, really focusing on backcountry skills, leave no trace. There's leadership development involved. And they're most likely, and it all depends on permits and everything else, but the way we have it set up right now is that every single week of the expedition backpacking program is going to be doing their trip in Rocky Mountain National Park. So that way they get to experience one of the most premier national parks in the country. If you haven't been, you should. If you have been, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, should be awesome. And then a new expedition program for this year is Expedition Mountain Biking, which same age group, 5th through 6th grade, again, 1 week. And this is brand new to this year. So if you have a little shredder who wants to get out on the trail and really practice those mountain biking skills, this is what we designed for you. 4-day, 3-night program, same thing. We're going to be heading out to Crested Butte, where we'll be staying at, we're going to be biking at Evolution Bike Park. We're going to be going to Crested Butte Adventure Park. We're going to be riding local trails right around the Crested Butte area. And we're learning specific skills to mountain biking. So that means we're talking more about cornering, weight shifts, moving uphill and downhill, gear shifting, bike maintenance, all those things more in depth. So they really come away with mountain bike specific knowledge and really further their skills, and they can look forward to that program evolving year after year. So that is really Mount Evans, and now we get to kick it over to Windy Peak once they graduate up to the older camp.
Right on. So yeah, I have the older kids, love them. And it's really great for the first time this past summer, first time we've ever split the locations, had great success with it. And it's really cool for these older guys that we can have a program that's just for teens. So all of our evening events that we plan, all of our clubs, everything like that is really tailored to what's going on in a middle schooler or high schooler's mind, where they're at developmentally, where they're getting cues from peers, things like that. So our classic 7th and 8th grade program, middle school program, Journey into the Outdoors. So it takes everything they do at Mount Evans and just goes a little bit deeper. So these guys, they also do a camp betterment project. The kids get to help pick on what they want that to be and how they want to be involved. An activity specifically for this age group is tree climbing, as you can see pictured. So a chance that we have these big ponderosas on camp. We want to get them high up. We even have this dream this year of getting some Christmas lights up in there, doing it at night. It's going to be sweet. Look for pictures.
So sweet.
We're excited about it. These guys do a 4-day, 3-night expedition. And in that, as they're starting to get older, we push these solos. And so what that is as a parent is we have the kids space out so that they're still all within eyesight of their instructors, but they have some time on their own to really process. These are the kids that developmentally are starting to get to the age where they can begin to reflect. And so we really want to build those skills in these kids. I think there's a lot of value of getting them to slow down and not just go, go, go. And so that's built into their expedition. Potentially, depending on their route and the weather, they might have a chance to do a peak set. As well as these guys go through Leave No Trace certification. And then their big activity this year, these 7th and 8th graders are going whitewater rafting. And so we're really pumped. That's a new activity for this age group, so we're really excited for them. / I want to go with them every time.
Yeah,
super fun. So they'll be going up to Idaho Springs and rocking that out. These guys, brand new, first time ever, 7th and 8th graders have an expedition option. So for these guys, we chose a multi-sport expedition, which means that they will go and try a variety of things. So they'll be setting up as a base camp. They'll be getting to rock climb in Vedau. They're going to mountain bike in Kurt Gowdy State Park. They'll do some sort of paddling. Right now it's leaning towards probably stand-up paddleboarding and doing some fishing, as well as hiking, archery, and of course that Leave No Trace training. It wouldn't be an Avid camp without that. Next, we have our high schoolers. So we are kind of planning our high school program from the start. So we really want to develop these guys into future leaders. And so we now have a 4U track that we will explain kind of throughout this process. The first starts with our 9th and 10th graders. We call them leaders in training because they get to step up on camp. So they'll be going through the whole normal 2-week experience, but with some extra challenges of how they can lead on camp. So these guys, their camp betterment project is actually going to hang out with Eric's guys, and they will be coming over, those younger kids who do their expedition on camp. These guys will help come over and lead that, so help provide care, supports, maybe help set up tents, cook, all of that. So a great project for our older guys to come over and love on our younger guys. The leaders in training, we call them LITs. They also do an expedition. There's this 5-day, 4-night. And we're looking at some great new permit places for these guys. Again, they'll do the solo, they'll do the peak ascent. And these guys will actually get a chance to get CPR certified, leave with a certification that they can apply for babysitting or different jobs, things like that. And then their special event for the LITs is something called Via Ferrata. If you don't know what that is, I really encourage you to take a brain break later today and Google it. It's pretty sweet. They go really high up on these mountainsides and they're clipped in to these iron structures, and they actually get to traverse across the mountains. Included in the package that we picked out has things like bridges and zip line and this like free fall contraption thing. It's gonna be really, really sweet for our high schoolers.
All very safe.
Of course.
Very safe. Very, very. And those are the number one thing when we're exploring that. So.
And then our new program, we are stoked about this program. It's called our Staff and Training Program, or SIT. And if you have been around Avid a little bit and heard of our EIT program in the past, this will replace that, so that's familiar to you. And like Eric said, these guys will be hanging out at Mount Evans again, so they have a chance to hang out with the younger kids, where it's a little easier for them to step into a leadership role. Our vision for this program is that these kids are going to be like half campers, half staff. So this is the stepping stone to get them ready from bridging from being a camper to hopefully in a year or 2 years being on staff with us and being able to facilitate kids' experience. So a ton of leadership development, developing the curriculum as we speak, that there will be classroom portions where they'll learn things about how do you sequence events, how do you lead environmental briefing, what is this comfort zone, stretch zone, panic zone. They'll spend time with our expedition supervisor learning what it takes to send an expedition out in the backcountry, and again get the skills so that if they were to come on staff with us, that they would be ready to guide in the backcountry with their kiddos. A brand new opportunity that we are really pumped to pursuing is we've got a partnership with our ziplining company that we do for the younger kids. And these guys will get to go through a full day of what it takes to be a zipline guide. So they'll go through the actual zip lines just like the kiddos do. And then in the afternoon, they actually go back out with the guides, and they're the ones that put them on the zip line, take them off. They have to problem solve. Okay, you have this complaint from clients. How would you address that? So really a chance to apply all that they've learned in their week and a half at that point with us, and put it into practice. On top of it, these guys will leave with a letter from us documenting all the hours that they serve. So these guys help camp run. We want to make sure that they get service for that. And so if they need to turn in things to their school for community service hours or NHS, student council, things like that, they'll actually leave with a letter with us documenting all of that they can turn in as well.
Cool. So amongst all the programs that we're offering at Mount Evans, there's some enhanced programming at Mount Evans. So, last year we had regular mountain bikes. This year we're going to have fat bikes, which are kind of the latest thing. You'll see that right on the right-hand side. Fat tires, a little bit easier, takes the shock off of the trails a little bit. So our little kids will love having brand new 2018 fat bikes across our entire fleet. Should be really fun. We'll be blowing out adventure photo, so that way we'll be able to do adventure photography, really capturing a lot of our programs as well. We'll have Frisbee golf on site. We're starting a new outdoor education program where we're teaching kids about the environment that we enjoy at Mount Evans and really here across Colorado. We have new climbing sites. I scouted those out just about 3 weeks ago, and we'll be putting in bolts, which will make it easier and more streamlined for all the kids. We're going to do full day mountain biking for our 4th and 6th grade program. We did a half day last year. We heard feedback from campers, staff, and from parents. Hey, it would be great for our kids to get more mountain biking in. Well, you got it. Full day coming up in 2018. We have revised morning and evening clubs. So that way we're going to have new ideas for kids to choose from, either in morning clubs in the afternoon. And once I show the daily schedule at the end of this presentation, it'll make a little sense where those fit in. And again, those are optional. We have new dining hall themes coming up as well. So that means they can look forward to being classic ones like crazy utensil dinners and caveman lunches, to new activities like a pirate meal or Clue Day or any of these that we have been putting together as we've been talking about. And there's a ton more in between. So a lot of those evening activities, a lot of creative freedom we want to put on our staff as well. So
similarly, we love innovation and making it new for kids, which is why we spend so much time coming up with new things every year. So that's fresh for our kids. So at Windy Peak, some new things coming for us is we tested out some mountain boards last summer, had a ton of fun of them, and so we're committing. We're buying a bunch more, and it will be a scheduled activity for all of our age groups. We're really excited for this one. It's going to be fun, something different, unique that they probably can't do other places. Like I mentioned before, those high schoolers, LITs, will be getting CPR certified. Our middle schoolers are going to be going whitewater rafting, and the high schoolers doing via ferrata. So again, both of these are new options. We had other outsources last year, and we just re-looked at them, and we think this will be the best for this age group. The new leadership program we mentioned to you, it's getting reworked basically from the ground up to make sure that it's the best that we can be for these kids and really serve them. We're looking at some new backpacking locations in Colorado for our high schoolers. So we're looking at some stuff in Gunnison and some areas around there. And like Eric mentioned, we too are revamping some of our clubs as well as our dining hall themes. So for those of you who don't know dining hall themes, all of our lunches and dinners have a theme. So it's not just a plain normal meal. They come in and they're part of some sort of excitement, like you mentioned, pirate lunch to Twin Day to Caveman is a classic one. So again,
Love
our goal is we want to create experiences for your kids that they can't get at home. So often you probably don't make your kids eat pasta with a whisk or a spatula, but we will. And so we really want to give them some great, unique experiences and let them be wild, crazy kids.
Yeah. So just to show you an example, I'll just circle this with the cursor we have right here. This picture is via ferrata. So it's a little bit of an extreme photo, as we haven't done it yet, so we haven't captured our kids doing it. But that's sort of the idea. It's traversing along, basically, rebar bolted into the rock, and you're clipping in. So all of those campers that are hanging on that wall, they're clipped in double to cables with lobster claws, which means there's always a clip. They're always clipped in at all times. Very safe, but really, really fun. I mean, I cannot wait to scout that trip.
Quality control.
Yeah, it has to be quality control. But it is the description of it and everything. I mean, our oldest campers. That is a great trip for all of our campers to look forward to, and for our oldest campers to enjoy.
And we're all about giving our kids challenges. We want to stretch their limits, and I think some of our favorite things is when we get our kids back from expeditions, especially the ones that we know are maybe a little more nervous to go out, which if that's our kiddo, that's normal. We'd love to talk through strategies for that. But our favorite part is when they come back and they realize that they did it, that they were successful, that they can do more than they really thought they could when they came into camp. And so this Via Ferrata, I think, is a great example of that. It'll be a cool accomplishment for these kiddos.
Lights out. I mean, I guarantee you at the end of the summer, everyone's going to be wanting to do that program for sure. It's the coolest thing. So just before, we want to talk about the parent experience, and we'll get into some more essentials about camp. But wanted to just take 30 seconds just to pause, let people kind of recoup, because we just told you a ton of information. So if any of you guys have any questions that you guys have on the top of your mind, just wanted to throw it out there before we continue and talk about the parent experience. So I see Jason's typing. I can't wait.
And just keep adding them. The whole end of the webinar will be answering your questions. So just start firing them off, and we will address them either now or kind of as we wrap up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jason, great question. So the ratio that we have, really we craft the program and to be able to maintain a 7-to-1 ratio. And we usually beat that throughout the entire program. So that means our groups are organized with 2 instructors and 13 kids. So basic math, you can see we're already under 7 for that. But then you can also be able to take into account all of our lead guides that are taking over activities. So anytime they're going to mountain biking, archery, stand-up paddleboarding, canoeing, kayaking, there's an additional instructor there as well, which lowers that ratio, down to 1 out of every 4. So that ratio maintains itself whether you're on expeditions or throughout camp. But really, that 7-to-1 ratio is about as much as it's going to be when really by our license and by our accreditation with the ACA, we're required to be at 10-to-1. So it's an even higher one that we're required to be like. But for the experience that we provide, especially the high-end experience of overnight camp, we want to make sure we're well under that. And even being what I told you, we're even further under that with regards to our program, especially with our younger campers at nights.
And how that works, a little structure, we always kind of forget to mention this. So our kids come in and they're assigned an activity group. All of our activity groups have a name, starting with our youngest campers, our mini campers, are usually chipmunks. We affectionately love to call them chippies. Up to the bigger guys, our moose and bison, things like that. And so these groups of 13, like Eric was saying, they have 2 instructors with them, and these groups are co-ed. And they're intentionally co-ed. We've seen a lot of value come out of that. One of my favorite stories is a mom that I met at a house party who was saying how she got this picture of her 6th grade son, and his nails were getting painted by some of the girls in the photo. I was like, oh no, this is going to go one of 2 ways. And she was saying how much she loved that photo because her son is in middle school and no longer knows how to interact with girls. And so it was just saying, like, the benefit of spending 2 weeks at Avid where he not only was around girls, but got to know them on a deeper level and saw that they are strong and capable and all these things, and that it wasn't in a sense of middle school and drama and liking each other, allowed him to go back to school and figure out how to interact with the opposite gender. And so that was a huge win. So we love the fact that our camp is co-ed. Don't worry, in the evening, kids go back to gender-specific cabins with their instructor. So If Eric and I were co's, we had the Moose group, love the Moose group.
Woo!
He would take the boys back to a cabin that would have boys from another activity group. I would take our girls back, same thing. And there would, again, we follow those ratios in our cabin, all of that. So that's a little bit of how camp goes on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. And for your question, Katie, about overnights, so any expedition is off-site, and that could be in any national park or national forests within the area. So Rocky Mountain, Great Sand Dunes, Arapahoe National Forest, White River National Forest, things like that. We're getting those permits right now, so that tends to fluctuate. For overnights on-site, they'll be right on the location. So it's really in close proximity. They're all within a mile of the main campus on-site. They'll have radios with them and having access right there. But that way they still have an independent backcountry experience where they're learning about Leave No Trace, where they're still cooking meals over, a camp stove. They're learning how to use that equipment, setting up tents, things of that nature. So does that answer questions right there? We'll get into the parent experience too.
And keep firing away questions. We love them. It's the reason we do this. So keep firing them away because we want to make sure all of your questions are answered and you guys feel great about this. And
as my former teacher self, just imagine if you have a question, probably somebody else does too. So ask away. What is a house party? Ooh, yes, I will tell you about that in a little bit. Yeah, that is awesome. Fantastic. So I'll get started with the parent experience. If you have other questions, just write them out right there. So, camp is not only great for your kids. Obviously, you looked at all the fun stuff. You're probably asking yourself, when are you going to open up a camp for adults? We're actually thinking about it. Just wait. Yeah, it might be coming. But in reality, the experience of camp is not only for your campers, it's also for you. You're giving your most prized possession, over to us, to being able to show them a great time during the summer. So we want to make sure you're comfortable as well. Yes, adult camp, woohoo! So the parent experience is really important, and it's something that we're evolving to make even better for this coming year. So, for this year, not only do we post photos every day, so we post close to 1,000 photos per site, of campers throughout the day. So you can expect anywhere from 75 to 100 photos of your activity group, every given day. So the chipmunks, for example, 75 pictures every day for those 4 days that they will get. You can expect that, and there's definitely going to be some of your son or daughter in that program across the board. And then new for this year, I forgot to mention that I also send weekly updates. I actually send them every other day. We both do. Yeah, not just me, but we send director updates every other day. So when you get the letter home that says, hey, camp is fun, love, Timmy, you have no context. We'll provide that for you. So what each group has been doing, letting you know what's going on at camp, how the weather has been, what activities we're looking forward to, things like that. So in addition to those things, new for this year is we have a manager of parent experience. And this is your point contact person that you can use at either site to be able to answer really the first level questions that you have. Checking in with your camper, making sure they got their package on a given meal, you just have that sort of mom instinct at home of, oh my gosh, I need to hear from my son. Call our direct manager of parent experience. They will help you out. Now, in addition to them, we are also always accessible. So we'll have our phone, our email right at the beginning of the season. So if you want to reach out directly to us, please feel free. But the manager of parent experience is another great resource we can have. We're always accessible by phone and email. You can send one-way emails from home. We'll have a dedicated email address you can send out. We'll print them off at camp, put it in their mailbox just like they get any letter. But you can also drop off letters and care packages just all the same, classic camp. And they will be able to write only letters home. So they can't send emails because we want them disconnected from electronics. And I'm sure that somebody just gave a fist pump hearing that because they need to be disconnected for a little bit. Sounds good. And then there's also, opportunities for us to bring home parties back. And so I'm glad someone asked the question about home parties really quickly. A home party is when one of us, either with both of us or some of our staff, will come by your house to tell you all about camp. You may be already signed up for camp. We'll come by and show you pictures and what they can expect from the coming session. Or you may just be thinking about camp, and we can come by and tell you everything we're telling you today, as well as be able to answer specific questions and interact with your kids and be able to not only tell you if we think your kids are ready for camp, but be able to answer all the parent and kid questions and making sure people are excited for camp. We've done already about 4 home visits this year, just in the past few weeks. We have a bunch more plans, not only here in Colorado, but around the country. We're excited to keep spreading the word. People are asking us, and we love to travel and talk about camp. So if you're interested in hosting a home party for you to spread word to you and your friends and family, please just get in touch with us. Our contact information will be right at the bottom, right on its own slide right at the end of the presentation. So great question.
And this is a great option if you're going through this and you're like, yeah, we think this would be a great fit. My kid, I maybe don't want my camper to go alone, and you have people on sport teams or through church or through other organizations that you think would be interested in camp. Set up a house party. It's a great way. We'll come and meet with them. Parents usually feel a lot better after having the face-to-face interaction. Kids get to meet us, so we're a familiar face when they show up. And we would really love to sell it to your friends so that you guys can get a whole group to come together. It's a great experience for kids to kind of have that, especially their first year, that little bit of security built in.
Absolutely, absolutely. So here's a picture just of Windy Peak. This is right from the flagpole. So you can imagine every morning and every evening, they get to enjoy that view, which
it's not bad.
It's not bad. It works out pretty well. So we'll get into some of the essentials as well in talking about camp. So we're first going to talk about health.
All right. So we know a big concern of parents is that you are trusting us with your kiddo for a week or 2 weeks, and that's a big decision and not something that we take lightly at Avid. And so know that health and their physical well-being is something that we're really concerned about. And so both properties have what we call a clinic. So the properties we actually use, we'll talk about that here in a bit, but each of them have a clinic fully stocked, and they are ran by an RN. So again, it's not just a college student we're getting out. There is a registered nurse that will be there taking care of your kid. And we love to communicate to you guys. So if there's anything going on, we do not hesitate to give you a phone call and say, hey, we just want to let you know that, Johnny is just feeling a little sick, has a little fever. We're going to let him sleep it off, and we'll let you know when he's good to go and back in with his group. So we are well set up. If we ever need anything, we also have contracts with surrounding places if we need to get more immediate care, stitches, things like that, then we have the ability to do that. As well as both properties have, with the school, have a contract with Lifelight. That again, for whatever reason, we've never had to use it.
Nope.
But for whatever reason, there is a place that they would actually land here on camp property to provide the care that's needed at that time.
So a lot of emergency care, not only on site, which shows you a picture here of the clinic at Mount Evans, which you can see is, it has beds in the back in case kids need to sleep overnight. If they ever do, you're getting a phone call, and that's where we're delivering medications. It's where, all the kids, it's all locked, safe, and we are able to keep a clean, comfortable space, and it's really cute too because it's a nice little building right there. Okay.
And one of the things as well is, like Eric said, meds are distributed from here every morning, evening, lunch, whatever you need. They're locked up when they're not being used, as well as we stock all the basics, so Advil, Tylenol, decongestants, all that stuff. If your kid has allergies, we have that available in the clinic as well. As well as your kid, one of the paperwork things that you would look at is if they have an inhaler or an EpiPen, they could choose to have their instructor carry it, or you guys can choose to allow your kid to self-carry. So again, lots of options to meet the needs that you guys have.
Awesome. And now we're going to talk about food. So it's one of my favorite topics to talk about. And our food at camp, it's not classic camp food. It's not just chicken nuggets and French fries anymore. We really want to push the boundaries, push the limits of what our menu really can offer. We offer 3 different menus, from our regular menu to vegetarian menu to a gluten-free menu. And if you have any dietary restrictions or allergies beyond that, please let us know, and we're able to accommodate it. I've thrown some pretty big curveballs at head chef Matt Reffett, and seeing how he can do it. And he's been able to meet every challenge and well beyond my expectations. It's been incredible. Hopefully you're able to blow this up or maybe zoom in to see some of the meals that we have, classic camp meals, all built with nutrition in mind. At every meal we always have a salad bar, which in the morning is obviously a breakfast bar, not salad, but at lunch and dinner, salad bar that has not only a full salad, but also some sides as well. If they don't like that meal, there's always staples of every single meal as well in the back of the kitchen. And then even if that is there, our staff will work with your campers, if they are that picky, to being able to find something that they can eat during the day. If you have any concerns about food, please reach out to us. We would love to talk to you about it. And I would love to put the challenge on Matt Reffett. He is incredible, and we're excited to have him back. So as you can see, this is him, the man, the legend. There's Matt right there with his daughter Kaylee and his wife Val. And that's all of Mount Evans celebrating. So we just enjoyed a great meal. You can see my favorite camper merely just because of this photo, because his mouth is all blue after eating a popsicle right there. I always think it's funny every time I see the photo. Yeah, it should be really awesome. So yeah, that's about food. Facilities.
So like we alluded to, so we actually rent our properties from the Jeffco School District. And so that means the facilities that we're using are licensed. They're used all year long by the school. So hopefully for those of you who maybe can't see the facilities before camp starts, we'll give you a peace of mind. Some of our cabins, all of our cabins actually in Mount Evans, have bathrooms built right in, which is so perfect for the little guys. Some of the cabins at Windy Peak have bathrooms, private bathrooms in there, but we also have a centrally located bathhouse that provides all their needs. In that bathhouse, there's the main sections, but there's also a private bathroom and shower. If that is more accommodating to your camper, then that's available whenever they want it. All of our cabins have heats and cooling, all of that in there. They also have intercom system, which is really sweet. If we ever had an emergency that we needed to speak right into all the cabins at once, we have the ability to do that. I love that. So they're really great facilities. We have some maps and photos. Again, this is all on your website. If you want to go back with your kiddo and look at it, it has examples of the different rec areas to what places look like. So this is Mount Evans, the next couple.
This is our main campus. That's right from our flagpole, right at the top of the hill. You can be able to see an example of one of the cabins. One thing I'll just mention, the cabins are not air conditioned. We're not that good. And more want to create an authentic camp experience. But it's good to know that the buildings are insulated and capable of that. Just in terms of the insulated buildings stay cool through the summer while we're out there, which is really nice. And so yeah, we'll get into weather and talk about that a little bit later.
I'm going to pause real quick for Dana, who has to leave. Next steps, all the information is right on the website. We'd encourage you guys, for new families, registration goes live December 1st. We'd encourage you to sign up then, because spots are filling up fast, because alumni do get priority. They get a little extra time to jump in there and grab some spots. And so you also get a discount if you register. I think it's by like January 6th or 8th, then you get $100 off. So an incentive as well. So information's right on there. If you have questions, feel free to call our team. The number's on the website. And if you want to visit before your camp starts, once we take over the property, so once camp starts, if you are coming in a later session, we can set up a tour for you guys. We just can't accommodate that until we actually take possession of the site.
Yeah, and there may be the ability to do that ahead of the summer. It's very piecemeal because we usually only have like very select days because the school is running their program. So get in touch. I think if reach out to one of us with our contact info. You can always sign on to the webinar and see that, or our contact info is right on the website as well. So
and maybe a different option to get your daughter comfortable too is just having doing the house party like you mentioned, having her meet whichever one of us she'd be with, and we can answer questions, do things with her like that as well.
Cool, great question, and thanks for joining. So that's one of the cabins. This is our amphitheater right in the middle of camp, as you can see, a nice teepee. Our kids can spend overnights in the teepee if they want to, which is pretty awesome. And then this is Windy Peak.
We are.
Yeah.
So again, like Eric said, it is our original camp. This is a view kind of out from our back deck. So we are kind of in this valley, beautiful view of Nelson Pond. This is a view from Cabin Row, so again, Castle Rock that we keep talking about, really pretty area. Here's a picture of one of our cabins on the outside. They have really cool kind of authentic campy feels to them. Our gazebo, which is like our go-to place for programming, hanging out. So we do a lot of our evening events, campfires around that. And then our pond right on property where we do kayaking and stand-up paddleboarding, fly fishing, polar plunge. We love. So that's a little bit of camp.
Yeah, and Katie, the range of pricing, I'll get to that right at the end when we start talking about registration. I just wanted to acknowledge that. Saw your question, so I'll be sure to get to that. And then, so just before then, talking about weather, and that typical weather in the mountains here in the Front Range of Colorado, it is comfortable as can be. I mean, it's 80 degrees during the day, a dry 80 degrees, which is awesome. 50 degrees at night, so not too hot, not too cold. We are Goldilocks the entire summer long, which is awesome. So we are at elevation, so we do average between the two sites being just over 8,000 feet. And that we do experience, sometimes we have snow, rain, hail we had this past year, thunderstorms. If it's just raining outside, we're going to probably recreate through it, meaning that we're going to stay on the water, we're going to do that. As soon as we get to more severe weather, like those mentioned right on the page, where we're talking about snow, hail, thunderstorms of any kind, we're going inside. So it's important to know that weather happens when you're being outside. There's also beautiful weather like this that you can enjoy outside, but also if it's raining, that's part of life being outdoors. And so we'll go through it. We'll encourage and keep kids upbeat. It's some of the best memories that some kids have from camp is being able to play games through the rain. But again, safety is their #1 thing. If it starts to thunder, we're heading inside. If it starts to hail, yes, we're going inside. So all good to know. So wanted to tell you just about a sample day here at CMC where you'll see just the times on the left and all the activities. I'll run through it really quick. Morning clubs in the morning, again, totally optional. Can join in for a morning club. They would simply just wake up and join at the location where we meet. Everyone's up at 6:45, go to flag at 7:15, breakfast at 7:30, which then preparing for the day at 8:15 when the meal is over, then from 8:30 to 12. So you'll see there's a 3.5-hour block of doing each of our activities. So they're not just touching into rock climbing, they're really going in depth and able to take the time to go into those lessons and really practice, get multiple pitches in and all that stuff. Then lunch and rest period, as well as prep for the afternoon. Then being able to then have another 3-hour block of an outdoor activity, being able to get out on the trails. Then from 4:30 to 5:30, shower. TP is trading post, not toilet paper, where they can get some things from the trading post. If you have further questions about that, certainly answer those. And we play some games. Then we lower the flag at the end of the day where everybody gathers at our flagpoles, have dinner at 6. Then from at the end of the meal, then from 7 to 8:30, we have our evening activities, which is either a group or choice activity for everyone. Then evening clubs start. Again, evening clubs are optional. And then most of our kids are with lights out and asleep by 9:30, ready to do it all over again. So cool. So you must be thinking to yourself, man, I just want to register. You must just be like Dana, being like, yep, I want to register for camp. I'm super excited about it. Well, I know she has some questions with her daughter, but if you're ready for camp, you can register as of December 1st. On December 1st, as soon as it opens, you can register in. Just right here on the left-hand side, you'll see some of the offers that we have, some of the codes that are available as well. And being that you've registered for this webinar, we have your email. So these codes will be sent to you as well directly before the registration date, just so you know that's coming. But you'll see there's a super early bird special, which can save $100 off of your given tuition code. And then there's early bird happening there. And really, so there's a way to save money by making a commitment really before the end of February. So that's always great. And then as being new families, if you decide to come back in 2019, you can look forward to alumni registration where you easy breezy get a little bit of a larger discount going into the summer, and you have exclusive rights to register in the month of November, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that's us. Woo, you made it. I'm so proud of you. You made it through over 45 minutes of us talking and telling you all about camp. So this is a time for you to answer questions. I'm going to answer the question of pricing just really quick. But again, please jot down our info right there. You can copy our email addresses. Send us something personally. If there's something that you don't want to mention right here, please ask us. That's why we're here. We love answering questions. It just means we're spreading the word of camp, which is all good. So the range of pricing of how it operates, the least tuition is with our mini camp program, which is just about $700 for that 4-day session. A 1-week session would be about $1,200, and a 2-week session would be about $2,200. Now, there are some ability to save even within that, July 4th week being one. There are a couple others on there, but if you are curious, sign on to our website, go to your specific page. You can even search it right from the home page, just right using that little search bar function right in there, and be able to see the specific pricing for the week that you're thinking about, as there is some fluctuation as well to leadership in our staff and training program, which is half off because they're half campers, half staff, and being able to have some fluctuation between there as well. But one thing you can know is that there aren't any huge additional costs. So there's no like, oh, to go on Via Ferrata, that means we're going to charge you an extra $250. That is not the case. That is included with your tuition. That is, you pay that and that's it. The only additional cost you can really expect is for the trading post, which is their ability to be able to have an account to get, say, like a toothbrush, playing cards, a journal, Avid 4 Buff, which is exactly that logo right on the left. It's one of my favorite things on camp. Everyone makes fun of me for it. And so they can get different things at the trading post as well. That's really the only additional cost you can expect. And our registration system makes it really easy to break up that payment in installments so that it's good for everybody. So great question.
The only other option as well is, we talk a lot about expedition, something that we love. If you're maybe a day camp family, this is a value add of, something they can't experience at day camp.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's something that maybe is brand new to your family, and you're like, well, I don't want to pay for camp, and then on top of it, I have to buy all this expedition gear. Know that we have a service too that you could rent a backpack and a sleeping bag and sleeping pad for $20 each for their expedition portion as well. So that would save you a ton of money, especially if you have multiple kids. You don't maybe not sure how they're going to take to that, or need to invest in the gear. Really easy system. You can sign up for it right when you sign up for camp. But again, like Eric said, those are literally, I think, the only options, of places where you might have add-ons. Otherwise, it's all included. We love that.
Yeah. Katie, great question. Alumni include day campers? Yeah, it does. You are officially an Avid 4 alumni, so that means you can register for camp right now if you would like to. So yeah, feel free, and you can use that code, and that should work great. So really, this is the question and answer portion. We want to make sure and be respectful of your time. We've got the next 9 minutes to answer questions before we're hopping on to, yes, another webinar. So if you're super curious and you're like, wow, Eric and Heather, they are so engaging. I just want to watch that webinar again live one more time. Feel free to join us. But please type in any questions you have. We'll take all the time we need. And again, if you have more questions on that, reach out to us directly. We'd love to hear from you. And I'll just stop talking and let you guys chime in.
And for Christy, we recognize you asked a little bit ago about scholarships. There are scholarships available. All the information's online. We do encourage you to apply early. We sit down as a team, actually a whole team, and we read through every single submission. It's pretty great, and we get to hear kind of your story. It's really awesome. We've had a lot of people who for years have contributed to the scholarship fund, who, 1 year something happens in their family and they get to kind of reap from that benefit as well. So yeah, it's really great. Information's on there. There's a ton of different criteria that we look at when we decide what families to offer scholarships to.
Yeah. I know I saw a notice from Anne Marie of raising hands and needing help. If you have a question, if you type it right into the chat box, and then we'll be able to answer it. Otherwise, if you want to reach out to us directly of a matter offline, then we can certainly answer it there. But what else you guys got? We've got a little bit of time being able to answer any questions. We'd love to hear what you got. See if you can stump the directors here. This would be fun.
Otherwise, you just get to stare at us.
Yeah, otherwise you just stare at us.
Sorry.
And then I'm just going to keep talking because I'm really good at filling time.
True statement.
Yeah, I mean, campers get used to it, making up stories off the fly, being able to tell them about random things, or whether I'm dressing up for any talent shows or things like that. So,
Jeff, come through, save us.
Yeah, not all the pictures.
Your jobs are way more fun than mine. That might be true. We can't argue.
Yeah,
there's some good bits to it.
Yeah, it's hard to argue.
Yeah,
but I appreciate it. But there is always room within the camping department. If you're looking for a seasonal job, please feel free to apply for one of our jobs this summer, and you can join us and have a ton of fun. Will we get an email with a link to the recorded webinar? Yes, you will. Absolutely, Ben. So Ileana, our head of marketing, is going to send those out just right after the presentation. We're actually going to decide which of the two that we're giving this afternoon we're going to send out to families. So yeah, we'll be sending that out. Same content, but you guys get the live feed, the live cut, and so yeah, it should be pretty cool. Great questions. Yeah.
Awesome. Any others? This is our favorite part.
What else you got? Cool. Not much. So we'll give it an extra, I'll just talk for the next minute if you tend to think about something, just because we've got time allotted right now. And just really, I'll just take the minute, just being really able to thank you guys for joining us. This has been a ton of fun. All about camp. It is camps and things like that. So we really appreciate you guys thinking and considering CMC. And again, please ask away. We want to make sure you're comfortable with this. We know the leap it takes to send your kids to overnight camp. So please let us help you. Let us help you feel better about it and showing how much fun they're going to have and how great we're going to take care of your kids.
So Kate,
laundry.
We do have one spot on camp. It's usually just used for like the bedding in the clinic, things like that, or if there is kind of an emergency or special circumstance, we would do laundry there. It's not something we offer to most kids just because our facilities are on wells, and so we just have to be kind of so we really encourage you to pack enough for their stay. But the great thing about camp is that you can wear something more than once. Or for part of their stay, especially for my older guys, half of their stay is spent on expedition where they are probably wearing the same 2 outfits the whole time. And so we're really good at kind of repurposing outfits and craziness, and Febreze also goes a long way.
And this is all within reason, meaning that like our staff are also on, especially for our younger guys, on top of our campers to make sure that Timmy is not wearing the same sweatshirt every single day, sweating in it, sleeping in it for 4 days in a row. That is not going to happen. So making sure that we're on top of that, hygiene is also very important to everything.
Yeah, I did go to a camper this summer and told them to pick a new shirt tomorrow.
Yeah, has to happen. Yep, that's why we're there. Pros and cons of coming with friends. There are pros and cons, absolutely, and especially with younger kids. I would say it's I always view it case by case, and I know that's not necessarily like a clean answer, but there is comfort to making the leap with a friend and going to a new place. I always say if you're going to bring the entire soccer team with you, that's something where we're going to try to break that up in between groups, make sure that there are friends, but there's still the ability within the environment to make new friends, since that's really our main goal. So coming to camp with friends, absolutely, super, super fun. We encourage you to spread the word so that they can all come, but know that it's going to be a conscious thing of our program of how we set up groups and how we set up our cabins and how we want to be able to really further the program on an individual basis with our campers just through the running of it to make sure that we're encouraging kids to make new friends and going from there. So if it's a comfort level that will enable them to be more comfortable to make the leap to camp, absolutely. If you're thinking about them coming with like the entire rat pack of all 5 people coming and they're just going to remain in themselves, I would encourage, we want to make sure that we're encouraging them to make new friends as well. So having a discussion individually of how we can best do that, absolutely. But I would say if it's getting them to camp, bring them on. That's always the best. So, but also not to be nervous about coming to camp without knowing anybody. That's how I went to camp. That's how many kids have gone to camp. And I made some of the best friends on the planet, and I've gone to enough weddings over the past year to prove it. And it's incredible. So yeah, great question. If you want to talk more about that and kind of the unique situation, please just give me a call. Happy to chat.
And know that that's something that we keep an eye out. Eric and I are the people that actually put together these activity groups. So it's not just random. We look at who requested who and also who isn't coming with a friend so that they're not the only person with 12 other people that all know each other, all have a buddy. We make sure that, I call them singles, that there are others in the group that are, coming independently as well. So we take all that into account as well as with age and all of that. So we're very intentional and very mindful when we create our activity groups.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I haven't seen any other questions come through, and we are getting close to the end of our time. So again, on behalf of Heather and I and all of us here at Avid, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you guys learning about our program that we hold near and dear to us. We hope that your campers will hold near and dear after they experience it. So if you do have any other questions, anything offline, send us an email, phone call, carrier pigeon, however you want, and we'll make sure to get back to you as quick as we can. Otherwise, thanks so much. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll hopefully see you this summer.
Bye, guys.